Here.
William Hyden,
Here.
Ryan Moreno,
Here.
Michael Tinker, Kimberly White, Thomas White,
Here.
6 present, we have a quorum.
And at this time, we would entertain a motion for approval of the minutes for the February 16th.
Motion for,
Second.
Those in favor? Aye.
aye.
Opposed? Any old business?
There's no old business.
New business. CP 16-03, petition of the City of Hammond to reclassify said property from S-1 Open Space and Recreational Facilities District to S-2 Institutional to construct, operate, and maintain a fire station within the City of Hammond, Lake County, Indiana. If you could please
Yes.
sign in,
Yes.
your name and address.
President White?
Yes.
Again, just to note for the record that the,
Notification requirements have been met. Thank you.
yes, they have, yes.
Mr. President, my name is Kevin Smith, and Board. I'm representing the City of Hammond this evening, along with Fire Chief, Mr. Jeff Smith, this evening regarding 16-03, which is a petition by the city to reclassify property from S1 Open Space to S2 Institutional District. This is property that is currently, I think probably originally was part of the original Harding School, and then was vacated when the new Harding School was built, and is currently vacant property. It was property that was deeded from the school city to the civil city in 2008 with anticipating the future construction of a new fire station. That fire station is now ready to be constructed pending some other approvals within the city. We believe the financing is in place, and this will replace the current station number 8 and move it to this property, which is approximately block and a half to the west of its current location. The City of Hammond has not had a new fire station built since the 70s, and so this is a project that's very exciting for the fire department and the firefighters. It will be a 3-bay station, which will allow the storage of an engine, an ambulance, and a truck. And it will also relocate some additional equipment from Fire Station 1 in, I guess, what we call that, Central Hammond? Second District of Hammond. The Fire Station number 1 is the one that's on about 150th and Calumet Avenue, across from the old Spone School, right? And it will actually take an ambulance and an engine from there that aren't really in use, so it's not like moving equipment, other than to allow for additional storage at Station 8 for use if needed in certain circumstances, which the fire chief will allude to. But for the most part, this is really just a basic rezone reclassification of a property from S1 to S2. The materials have been presented to you. I believe Mr. Poland, the city planner, has indicated that notice has been properly given. There is a photo, I believe, in your materials of an elevation of future Station 8, and also a plan that you can see of where it sits on the parcel. And if you have any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer them, but I'd like to turn it over to the chief quickly here so he can also talk about a couple things as far as he is concerned with his men and women of the fire department, and then we'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Chief, would you please sign in?
I did.
Okay, thank you very much.
I did. Yeah, like Kevin said, it's the first station we've had built since 1978, which was Central Fire Station was the last one. This station was built in 1953, I believe, and we've kind of just outgrown it. It's, like Kevin said, it's going to be a 3-bay station. 3 bays will exit out onto Parish Avenue to the east. There's only going to be 2 drive-through bays. The 3rd bay will be where the ambulance bay is at. It'll back in off of Parish. Some of the time, the rigs will go behind the station to pull straight through. Most of the time, they'll probably just back in off of Parish. It's about 2,000 square feet bigger than we have now. I think this is going to be 14,000, around 14,000 square feet. You know, the furnace, and I mean, this Station 8 is like nickel diamond made to death on repairs, roofs, flat roofs. I mean, you know, it's 50 years old almost, or well, it's over 50, yeah. So the furnace is old, the air conditioning system's old, and it's just, you know, every year it's something new. The windows, they redid the windows about 15 years ago, and now they're terrible. So, you know, it's exciting time. The guys are excited about it, to get a new station. It's going to be, and according to all the plans that we've seen, it's going to be really nice. Any questions?
Commission members?
Yes,
Question.
I have a question, please.
Okay.
Couple of questions. The zoning of the parcel, are we rezoning the entire block of bounded by Parish, 163rd and Cleveland, and forgive me, I don't know the westerly street. Is the entire block being rezoned?
Yes, the entire block is being rezoned.
To S2, thank you. And I know this is not germane to the particular station, but the old station is, do we know the disposition of the old station when the new station is constructed?
There is an agreement with the school city that that property would be deeded to the school city. We haven't had discussions with them whether or not they're going to go through with deeding that over, or going to go through with that deed being recorded, or if they would like the city to retain it. I mean, obviously, we're going to have a building from the 50s there that probably would need to be knocked down unless there's some use for either the fire department or another department of the city, or the school city for that matter.
Thank you. Those are my questions.
Will you be adding any new equipment, or since
No.
you have the additional room?
No, at the station that we have now, it's, with the size of our rigs nowadays compared to years ago, they're a lot bigger now. So we used to have a spare ambulance at that station, but the ambulances are a lot bigger now than they used to be, and we can't fit a spare ambulance over there, which we try to do at every station that has an ambulance. We try to keep a spare in case of breakdowns in the middle of the night. That's what Kevin said. At 150th, right now, we have 2 spare engines, a spare aerial truck, a spare ambulance, a water rescue vehicle attached to a boat. So that station is crowded. Central Fire Station has 3 spare rigs in case of breakdown. So we're going to move 2 of them, a spare engine and an ambulance, out to Station 8, because the station will be long enough that we could fit behind them. You know, so in case of breakdowns and to alleviate some of the pressure over here, because there's just no room at the station anymore. So what is there now is an engine 8, truck 8, and medic 8. So they'll all be there.
Typically manned by how many people at any given time?
Minimum 8 per day, up to 10. It's, yeah, well, I guess that's the other thing. The size of the station, like I said, is just a little bit bigger, but, you know, it's, things, you know, it's just, it's cramped over there. I think when that station was built, they didn't have an ambulance there, and it's, I mean, the bedroom in there, the beds are only about this far apart, and there's 30 of them, so.
Any other questions from the commission members? No? Brian?
I just wanted to state, you know, according to what the plans are saying, the building is 12,500 square feet.
Okay. I think the old one was right around 10.5 or something.
So we request a favorable recommendation by the commission.
We'll open it up for public expression at this time. Please come forward. Please write your name and address, and if you can tell us your name and
My
address.
name is John Gallegos, and address 3141 163rd Place, and I live on the north side of the designation for the new fire station. What I'd like to know is our...
But first of all, would you sign in, please?
Okay.
And I would ask you and anyone else who would like to come forward, if you'll just address the questions to us, and then at
Okay,
the end, the petitioner will come up and answer those questions.
okay.
So go ahead.
Okay. Like I said, I live on the north side of it, and are our taxes going to go up any because of that?
I can't answer that, but they will answer it when we're done here.
Okay, and another question, one more. Are they going to knock all the trees down? You know, okay, that's two that I have.
Okay?
Okay.
My name's Keith Bogner. I live on 163rd Place, 3129. Kind of got mixed feelings on this. My son's a Hammond fireman, but I live right across the street, so I have a couple of questions that I'm concerned about. And that is, the streets are narrow, and I'm wondering how these rigs are going to maneuver. Are they going to do something to Parrish Avenue or 163rd Place or Cleveland, or exactly what are they going to do? What kind of noise level are the residents going to be facing with this fire truck or fire station being moved in? And what's going to happen to our property values? When I purchased this property 33 years ago, this area was zoned for recreation. There was a small soccer field at the end. I had, nobody told me they were going to possibly build a fire station on a piece, across the street from a piece of property that I purchased. So those are my questions. Thank you.
Anyone else?
My name is Joan McKay, 3115 163rd Place.
Could you please sign in for?
I am right now. I can do both.
Okay, very good.
And, I'm not trying to prioritize the building plan, but I live on 163rd Place. There is two homes, well, really four homes vacant now, but one is supposed to have been totally demolished. The roof is caving in. There has been the health department in there, and that's 3107 163rd Place. And when you're building structures like a fire department, which I'm sure is needed. My son is also a Hammond Police Department, on the police department. So I respect the policemen, I respect the firemen, but also I want our neighborhood to look nice. And when you're building properties like this, please check the neighborhood surrounding too. There's a couple of houses there that really need to be checked, and before maybe we go on with other developments. And I didn't fill out all this. Okay, thank you.
My name is Brenda Bogner, 3129 163rd Place. I'm just concerned about the kids going to school, because I know that the main entryway to Harding School used to be off of Parrish, and now they've moved it back a little bit, which is nice. But certain times of the day, there's just a lot of traffic there because the kids are getting picked up or dropped off. And I'm afraid that if there's a fire, how are they going to navigate onto Parrish with all these kids? And so if that's the case, then if they do decide to move the entrance and exit to another street, what does that mean for the homes, on that street? Because those streets are kind of narrow. So that's just my question.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else for any public comment or expression? If not, we'll close the public expression portion, and the petitioner will come forward. and answer the questions that were raised.
Thank you, and thank you to the residents that came out, because it's always good to hear comments from people that live there every day and to hear what the concerns are. And obviously, the city takes those concerns very seriously. So I'm going to try to answer them in order, and of course, I'll also be around afterwards to answer any questions, or I can give you my card, and if you'd like to call my office, I'm happy to kind of follow up with you as well. So the first question was regarding taxes. Will taxes go up? I'm happy to report that the answer there is no. The reason is that the financing of the fire station is going to be entirely by funds that are generated by the TIF district that is known as Oxbow, which is where the new Buffalo Wild Wings and the new hotel is going to be, and and the Byway Brewery and the new office building, the ATG Real Estate Development Group's office building. So this is kind of like a great example of why TIFs work. So the idea of a TIF district is the new development, you capture those increased taxes that those people are paying, like the hotel and everybody else over there, and you can use that money for a project that helps the community, like a fire station. So if there was ever a project that was a great example of why TIF districts work, this is it. Because it's not affecting your taxes, taxes won't go up, and we're going to get a brand new fire station if this goes through. So I hope that answers that question. Will all the trees get knocked down? No. There are some cottonwoods that will be knocked down along 163rd, but more towards the parish side, and then towards the back of the station, those are not being knocked down. I believe that a final landscaping plan, I don't know if Mr. Poland's seen that yet, but we can probably give you better details on that, but just generally speaking, that's the plan.
And if I may,
Yes.
that the station is being sited on the east part of the lot, so the west part of the lot is not being affected by this.
That's a good point, right. So the western part of the lot, I mean, it's hard to say the western part of the lot versus the eastern part of the lot, but if you think of it as a 50-50 split down the east and west, the eastern part of the lot towards Parish is where the station's going to be located more versus on the back side, which I forget what the street is on that side, but thank you. Let's see, maneuvering of rigs. As the fire, I'm going to probably let the fire chief address that, as well as the noise level. I'm going to address property values and the kids question, because I think the Bodners both asked. Those are questions by Bodner. So property values. What I can say is that whenever there's new construction in a neighborhood, that generally helps property values, whether that be commercial or institutional or residential. So if we were saying that we're going to build like a new manufacturing plant or industrial plant across from your house, that might worry me more regarding property values than a new fire station. I think people appreciate public safety for the most part. I think they appreciate having a fire station and firemen around the neighborhood. As you know, most fire stations are designated safe places for children and other people, so that's always a plus. So I mean, I'm not an appraiser, but I would think that property values would at least remain stable, if not increase as a result of a new fire station because it's new construction. Regarding kids, I would just point out that, for example, there are many fire stations in and around other schools. For example, Maine Fire Station is right next door to Lou Wallace. No. Is that Lou? Yeah, Lou Wallace School. That's right. Right here on Conkey and Calumet. There's a lot of Kenwood school traffic and kids that are pedestrians that go by Station 5. And Station 7, of course, is right next door to near the YMCA and O'Bannon traffic from kids. So I would say that most firemen are also parents, I think, for the most part, and they're probably very aware of children, and that's one of their things in public safety. I'll also let Chief Smith address that. Finally, I think there was one of the residents, one of the women that lived next door to 3115 163rd Place. I think someone, yes, about the vacant homes. I'll be happy to talk to you about that, because one of the things I do for the city is also work on the demolition list. And so I'd be happy to get those addresses from you, because we'd be happy to send the inspections department out there, take a look at them, and see if those need to be knocked down. Because of course, one of the things that the mayor is adamant about is getting rid of vacant structures in the community. And sometimes it takes a little longer to knock them down because we have to give proper notice. It has to go in the paper. It has to be bid out. But eventually those do come down to the tune of about 600 in the city over the last 6 years. So I'm going to give it to Chief Smith to talk about the noise level and the maneuvering and kids.
I just want to add on the demolitions, I think 3103 is the first house at Delaware. That one is, I think, being rehabbed by
It is.
Neighbors Inc.
Yep.
And the Code Enforcement Department is aware of the second house, which I believe is 3107.
Okay, good, yeah, 3103 is in the midst of getting to be rehabbed this year. So that's, it's that brick one that sits in the corner.
They work today.
Oh, good, okay.
Yeah, it's one next to the roast pavement and the health department's been there.
We'll make sure, if it's 3107, we'll make sure that's on our list and we'll take a look at it. Okay.
What was your comment, sir, about 3107?
The Code Enforcement Department is aware of 3107.
And I'll follow up with them as well.
The maneuverability, Parish is not as wide as 165th, I'll agree with you there. This station, if you guys have kids that walk to school down 165th, for years when I worked there, the school came to us one time and said, will you guys stop pulling your rig out at 8 o'clock because the kids had to walk in the street. So we stopped doing it. This station's actually going to be back off the street a little bit farther, Brian, am I right, correct?
In comparison,
Yes, and the pad is going to be much deeper where the rigs can actually pull out and it won't block the sidewalk. So for 65th to be a little bit wider, yeah, than Parish, but they won't have to do the big swing out like they do now at 65th and block every lane. Parish has got a lot less traffic than 165th, so because I mean, I've backed into that station before and people try to zip around you. Thankfully, Parish isn't that, well, especially the north end of Parish is not as busy as going 65th and south. So, I mean, the maneuverability, yeah, it's going to be, it's a lot bigger space to work with because of with the station being off the street so far.
Is there a plan to look at?
Yeah, after the meeting, I'll show
Yep.
you what we got.
The noise level, I mean, there will probably be a speaker outside, but it gets shut off at night. They have the one at Station 8, there is a speaker outside in case we're outside. You know, they play basketball out there, you know, after dinner and stuff like that, so if they're outside, there is a speaker, but, I mean, can you guys hear the traffic from down the street? Yeah, I mean, that's, the good thing about living close to a fire station, if you ever have a fire, we're right there. The bad thing is the noise level. I mean, it's something you just can't get away with. I mean, it has to be loud enough that we can hear it. So, unfortunately, you know, it's.
But the dispatching
Pardon me,
would
the
be,
public expression has ended. You can
You can-
talk with the chief afterward, if you would, please.
But yeah, the noise level, I mean, there is a speaker outside. The doors are gonna be open in the summertime. The wintertime, everything's buttoned up, you know. What else did you have? Oh, the kids. Well, like I said, right now, we don't pull our rigs out on the street, in front of Station 8 now because of the sidewalk and the kids walking to school. We hold off until after, well, school starts earlier now, doesn't it? We have a radio test at 8 o'clock, and that's the time that the guys go out to the rigs, clean everything, and it's done at 8 a.m. every morning. So on Saturdays and Sundays, they probably do pull them out a little bit earlier, but for now, at least with this new one, we can pull them out and it won't block the sidewalk at all. The kids, don't the cars exit on 65th for the drop-off, or do they come out on Parish? Oh, it's in Parish too, because I remember the traffic on 65th in front of the school, in front of Harding, but I couldn't visualize Parish too much. Unfortunately, you know, if we knew when we were gonna get fire calls, it'd be great, we wouldn't be there. People don't move out of the way when we blow the lights and sirens now, and the guys do go slow like the schools. I mean, that's one of our pet peeves is that, you know, just because you got the green light doesn't mean you go flying through, so they do slow up. I mean, they're not gonna,
Plus, like
you
you
know.
said, it would be backed off.
What's that?
Like you said, it would be backed off.
Yeah, the station's gonna be back off the street quite a lot farther than the current station they did.
And we'll show you those outside. That's all. I think we've addressed everything, Mr. President, so
I'll see if the commission members have any questions for the petitioners. Questions? No questions? I guess we'll have staff review the staff report.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, just a quick summary of the staff report. The Plan Commission has 5 criteria that the state statute requires that need to be considered. One is the comprehensive plan. The plan is a little out of date and talked about just using this property as residential or as open space. The current condition of the property, you know, the property is vacant. There is some deteriorated paving that's at the southeastern portion. My understanding is that is left over from when the temporary school buildings were there in the 60s and 70s. The most desirable use of the property, it's been underutilized for a number of years. The open space, people would consider that to be a benefit to the adjacent residential areas. This property has always been in use as some type of, used in some type of public use way. Of course, adding the fire station would be appropriate for public safety purposes and still continue this public use of the property. The western portion would still be available for use as open space or as a park. Conservation of property values throughout the area. It was mentioned earlier, but generally new construction is considered to help the property values of the area. And of course, the fire station again would be the benefit, the public safety. Responsible development and growth. Parish Avenue is a significant north-south street in the area. The siting of the fire station is oriented in access to Parish and is appropriate to minimize any extraneous traffic into the neighborhood. Staff recommendation, excuse me. The petition is to do a change that would allow something within the same S classification. S2 is a zoning that still allows open space on the property that is not being used for the fire station. The S2 is specific, allows these types of institutional uses, and S1 does not allow those. Staff recommends that the Plan Commission forward the petition to the City Council with a favorable recommendation. If the Plan Commission agrees with the recommendation, staff requests that this report is adopted by the Plan Commission as preliminary findings of fact.
Any questions of the staff for either the report or the recommendations?
Just a quick question, Brian. The address is listed at 3107 Cleveland, so the front of the building will be facing towards Cleveland Street?
No, the front of the building is facing Parish. That, again, yes, that is the current address associated with it in the GIS system. You may or may not remember, but I had sent some emails to you and your staff about potentially changing the address.
That's right, I remember
to
that.
Parish Avenue. So that is something that, as a project goes forward, we can address the change of the address as necessary.
Thank you.
Any other questions of staff, either the report or its recommendation?
Motion to forward the petition to the City Council with a favorable recommendation.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Roger Brock,
Yes.
Dean Budden,
Yes.
Nathaniel Harris,
Yes.
Ann Herbert. Yes. William Hutton,
Yes.
Juan Moreno,
Yes.
Kimberly White. Yes. Thomas White,
Yes.
8 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
We will also need a,
Motion to adopt the Plan Commission, or the report as a preliminary finding
in
of
my
fact.
mind.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Roger Brock,
Yes.
Dean Budden,
Yes.
Nathaniel Harris,
Yes.
Ann Herbert.
Yes.
William Hutton,
Yes.
Juan Moreno,
Yes.
Kimberly White. Yes. Thomas White,
Yes.
8 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
For the residents, just so you know that the Plan Commission always makes a recommendation to the City Council. It is the City Council's final decision on the rezoning. This will be provided to the council for first and second reading at next Monday's council meeting. As to how quickly the council decides on it, that is up to them to decide how quickly they'll act on it. They have statutorily, they have 90 days to act. They usually act quicker than that.
And I think the two gentlemen, the chief and Kevin Smith, will be out in the hallway. Be happy to answer further any questions you may have. And I think they have some diagrams, artist renderings, so on and so forth for you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Other new business. CP 16-04, petition of Illinois Indiana Restaurant Realty LLC for final development plan approval in a PUD planned unit development district located at 938 Indianapolis Boulevard near the intersection of Fifth Avenue and Indianapolis Boulevard within the city of Hammond. And have our notification requirements been met? And you put in your name and address.
Yes, I have.
Thank you. You want to tell us who you are?
Yes, good evening, Mr. President and Commissioners. My name is Jonathan Greba, and I'm with Wolfert, and we are representing the petitioner, and we are requesting approval of the final development plan and the PUD planned unit development. This is a proposed IHOP restaurant. It's Lot 5 of the Marina District Development. As you mentioned, it's at 938 Indianapolis Boulevard. Final plat of PUD has been recorded, and we're seeking approval of the final development plan. The restaurant, it's a permitted use within the PUD. It's approximately 4,900 square feet on a 1.04 acre lot, proposing 60 parking spaces. The building features four-sided architecture. It's a combination of three types of masonry. There's a modular stone at the base, brick for the main body, ephes for the large cornice feature. There's also stone material on the columns, and accents for the wall sign panel. There's also proposed wood material on the open gable on the main portico over the entrance. Proposing LED lighting within the parking lot, proposing about 17% of the site to be landscaped. We're also proposing ADA ramps and bicycle racks to try to promote pedestrian connectivity. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I also brought some presentation boards. I believe you already have the proposed signage and the building elevations and site plan and landscape plan, but as I mentioned, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Do you have everything on boards, big boards?
I do.
Okay, just for camera purposes,
Sure.
could you just take a few moments and, Jake, how do you want that? Right there? Okay.
This is the four sides building elevations.
Can you hold that up again?
Sure.
Okay.
These are the proposed building signs on three sides and also proposed monument sign.
Okay.
Did you have a site plan on the board?
I'm sorry?
Did you have the site plan on the board?
I do. I have it right here. This is the proposed site plan.
Thank you.
The proposed preliminary landscape plan, which just shows the areas that will be landscaped.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from commission members?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I have two items in particular. I'm Dean Button, the city engineer for the city. In review of your plan, I did review your photometric drawing, and I did notice that there were a couple of areas adjacent to the building that had lower level of light in them, and I was wondering if you might, in a site plan review, might amend that to cover at least a minimum level of lighting throughout the site.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. We are looking into that, specifically the area that's adjacent to the portico and the front entrance. The developer is looking into adding potentially a floodlight to the pole that's in the landscape island closest to that entrance, and projecting toward the entrance and projecting onto the portico to try to brighten the front entrance area up a little bit. The area on the south side of the building near the bike racks, we are looking to adding either some sort of wall packs or possibly another pole with a fixture to brighten that area up also.
I'm not seeing I guess I'm oriented, it appeared to me that it was on the east and west sides of the building face, and wall packs would likely be
Okay.
supporting that, but I would appreciate that. The second question, I'm new to the Plan Commission this year, and I'm not entirely sure how this body normally reviews feature elements of the building. I did notice that I like the way the building itself is all laid out, but I did notice that the trash enclosure was a split-face stone enclosure, and I'm not sure that that's consistent with the rest of your architecture, and I was wondering if that is something that perhaps I should ask Brian this, is this something that we may be dealing with at this level, or is this something that happens under a plan review level rather than at this hearing?
No, it's fine to address it at this level. The project really has gone through the majority of the plan review from the staff. There will always be, any adjustments and tweaks that are necessary that would come after this meeting that still would have to be reviewed. When the PUD document says that the trash enclosure is supposed to be concrete block or masonry, the other phrase that it says is compatible with the architecture of the building. So I guess that really is the question, that if the Plan Commission wants to discuss that issue, that does this particular concrete block, is that compatible with the materials of the building?
And my concern really, I guess, is I didn't see a lot of texture features relative to what you're proposing for the trash enclosure, but what I did see is what you had on the building, and my thought was it would be consistent with what's on the building, and that's my position at this stage.
Thank you.
Any other questions from commissioners? There being no other questions, we'll open.
Staff has a question.
Staff,
Staff has a question.
certainly.
We had talked on the phone about this particular issue. If the Plan Commission looks at the sign information, there are 3 signs proposed on the wall surface of the building. On the north side, let me get my direction straight. The west side, the north side, and the east side. Basically, you would see the signs as you are traversing Indianapolis Boulevard. The primary entrance to this property is off of Roby Drive. Roby Drive is a private street, but when you come in essence, you're coming into the back side of the building. And I had talked previously with the petitioner's representative that I think they should consider adding a sign to that southerly side of the building, so as people are traveling down Roby, that they know which driveway entrance to go into in order to make sure they go to the right parking lot, I guess, let's look at it that way. My suggestion is not a very large sign. I'm normally a person that thinks that the least amount of signage is necessary is really the way to go, but I think that it would be something worthy of consideration that this sign is added. Basically, the signs that are on the east and west are in the 32 square feet area, and I'm just suggesting a sign of similar size on that rear facade, that they have even with that additional sign, they will still be under their cap on their allowable amount of square footage of signage. Did you have a chance to talk to the franchisee? Or?
We have spoken. He was still deciding on whether or not he wanted to add the sign, but I haven't instructed him that as long as it's within the, as you said, roughly 32 square feet of area, that it would be permissible within the PUD regulations. So he's still considering it.
Any other questions from commissioners or staff? If not, we'll open up the public expression or hearing portion. Repeat, we'll open up the public hearing portion, and there being no public, we'll close the public hearing portion. And the staff will present their report.
Well, I think our city engineer has brought up some questions that I would like a little bit more feedback from the Plan Commission as how you want to approach this. And of course, I brought up my issue on the sign. What we're trying to do tonight is that we're basically trying to get this project approved as it's presented. This is intended to be as close to permits as possible. We understand that these types of things that we've raised still may require some further review from the petitioner, and that may affect some of the final drawings presented for the for actual permit review. Under Plan Commission or zoning ordinance rules, anything of what I consider to be, these are minor issues, that is something that the staff does have the ability to modify and not have to come back before the Plan Commission. So I just want a little bit more direction and feedback on how the Plan Commission wants to approach those three items.
I was going to pose a question to the members, to see if the board members, if they wanted staff to oversee that. Absolutely. You need that in form of a motion, Brian?
Actually, my question is, I need some direction from you. I have no issues in handling it because that is my responsibility, but I want to know what your feeling is.
Well, let me see if this is appropriate. Would it be appropriate to make a motion to accept the petition as presented, contingent upon resolution of the sign, the lighting, and the architectural elements of the trash enclosure by staff?
Okay, I'm not questioning that because that would be the appropriate motion. What I'm asking before we get to the motion, okay, I'll put it this way. Do you want me to push them to have the sign? Do you want me to push them to change the material of the enclosure? And do you want me to have them do something different on the lighting? Do you want to give me that? You want to tell me what material you want on the enclosure, that this particular material is not adequate? Is it compatible or not with the building? I need to have some feedback.
I think that the material on the trash enclosure should be in harmony with the building, as Mr. Button has pointed out. That's a good point. Architecturally, maybe you can, review that and see what you can do to get that to complement one another. And Brian, in regards to the lighting and the other items that you had mentioned, yes, if you, my opinion is if you could go forward and handle that as you have in the past, that would be great.
Okay, Mr. Hutton, do you believe that the current material is appropriate to the architecture of the building or not?
Are you asking me?
Yes, I'm asking the entire Plan Commission. Do you, the question before you is making a judgment as to whether you think this material is appropriate.
Well, let's talk about architecture in general, and architecture in general is in the eye of the beholder. And, how that's created, how that's developed, how that's designed is probably by your architect, not by this Plan Commission. I think Mr. Button's comment, again, was a good comment. I thank him for that he brought to light that maybe you might want to evaluate this again to see if you can make this more homogeneous between the two structures.
Okay, is the consensus that is the Plan Commission is that the current masonry is not compatible or homogeneous with the brick, the stone, the ephes, the wood?
Yes.
My opinion
It is
as an
not.
architect, my opinion as an architect, it's not.
Okay. So if that's the consensus that I'm getting from them, so then it becomes a question for you to talk to the petitioner, is there, or the franchisee, whatever.
Right.
To look at an alternate material. And in that sense, then I would have the authority, I'm assuming you're granting me the authority to make that judgment decision that if he proposes something else, that I can deem it to be
Acceptable.
acceptable or not. Is that okay?
Yes.
That's good.
We are asking you to make sure that the architecture of the trash enclosure, the lighting, and the sign is consistent with the wishes of the Plan Commission as mentioned earlier tonight.
And if there's a situation where the franchisee doesn't want to do the sign, what direction would the Plan Commission give me?
They will need to come back to the Plan Commission to show the revised plan.
A revised plan meaning what? Because if they don't do the sign, they're not revising the plan. If they are doing the sign within the parameters that we established of 32 square feet plus or minus, then that would be just modifying the materials, and then that would be a staff level approval. Because we're talking about a sign that's going to be of this color, this design, not that we're going to question that because that's First Amendment right issue, but as far as the size of the sign, if the Plan Commission wants him to do that and he chooses not to do that, do you want him to come back to the Plan Commission, or do we want to just let the issue go?
It would be approved contingent upon the wishes of Plan Commission, and if those are not met, then it's not approved.
I understand the question about the building material for the trash enclosure, and I will speak with the franchisee about that and work with staff. Regarding the sign, if it turns, just so that I understand, if it turns out that franchisee does not wish to add the fourth wall sign, would we be required to reappear before the Plan Commission?
Well, your petition would be denied because it's contingent upon meeting those requirements.
Okay.
So if you don't meet those requirements, your petition is denied and you will have to refile a new petition.
I'm not sure if that would be appropriate, and I wish our attorney was still here as to whether or not it would be technically denied.
I think in the past, Brian's had the authority and the ability and in the best interest of the city to look at items similar to this. That's,
Well, we've certainly,
hasn't it been, Mr. President?
we certainly have given him that authority, and due to his expertise.
Well, right, I mean, in essence, we're talking about relatively minor modifications. So your judgment is that the entire package, minus these issues that we've raised, does that meet the requirements of the PUD? And staff's opinion would be, yes, it does, and therefore, my recommendation would be that you approve the project as a whole. If there are tweaks, and I consider these to be tweaks and minor, then that is something where the staff has the authority, according to the zoning ordinance, to modify the Plan Commission's decision on those details to work that out and adjust the development plan to include those items. I'm just trying to basically have a situation where you don't have you come back.
I'm in the same situation. I'm in the same position where I think, speaking candidly, the idea of adding a fourth wall sign is probably something that the franchisee is going to want to do. I can't imagine a situation in which he would not want to do that. I just don't want to agree to it and find out that there's a specific reason why it was not added and then have to come back before the Plan Commission.
Similarly, he may or may not want to change the material of the dumpster due to some unknown reason at this point.
Right.
He can't make that decision.
Correct. And I apologize that I can't make that decision on behalf of the franchisee, but
It's not unusual for you, as his representative, unable to make that decision. and I don't want to belabor this much further, but I think what I'm going to just say is let me go through my staff report and allow us to move on. In essence, you know, the Plan Commission has a responsibility to review the final development plan in accordance. There's two sections that are applicable to anything in a PUD. It is the final development plan provisions under 16.51, and the decision, the comment is that, you know, shall conform to the preliminary plan of the PUD. In your packet, you received Exhibit B that shows a comparison to the preliminary plan of PUD that was presented last summer with this site plan overlaid. Only the site plan was presented to us at time last year. So when you compare the two, this new site plan is in essence the same. There's some minor differences as to you know, where the pavement is as far as the parking spaces. The other comments that goes into the final development plan approval under this section is there's a series of statements that I've kind of tried to summarize, but you're saying that I'm saying in my report that it's compliant with the PUD district ordinance and the other applicable provisions of the zoning ordinance, that they've made adequate provisions for safe and efficient pedestrian vehicular circulation. We had them add curb ramps at each ends of the sidewalk to allow or to accommodate additional handicap accessibility, and the PUD ordinance uses the term encourages bicycle racks, and they have provided for that. The access, as I stated before, is off of the south from Roby Drive, and that is appropriate and compliant based on the reviews that we have conducted so far. The number of spaces are compliant, the sizes, the access to the parking areas, they're all compliant. The building is designed in the four-sided architecture, that is compliant with that part of the zoning ordinance, the PUD zoning ordinance. The minimum landscaping requirements have been met. Actually, they have more area than is required. As was stated, I don't think we know all of the final plantings, but that is something that would be more of a staff level approval anyway. The drainage is adequate and it has been addressed. Sanitary storm, et cetera. We talked about the question of the photometrics. Then the other section is in the review of a development plan. It's under section 27.04. A lot of similar languages. Just so for reference purposes, this section of 27.04 also governs the C2 shopping centers that have the development plan approval provision in it. Again, compliant with the preliminary plan of PUD, the PUD district ordinance, and the zoning ordinance. There's no unusual features on the property. We talked about the private streets. We talked about the access. We talked about the vehicular and pedestrian traffic. This site plan shows that there will be access to the adjacent lots. There's cross-access that was a part of the design that the developer of this property has dealt with. The preliminary stormwater is provided and accepted by the city engineer. As your engineering gets further along and you haven't quite maybe got the final size of pipe, that's something we will review for permit level. The utilities are there. That's part of what the developer has put in. The access drives and streets were a part of the final plat. Again, the parking's compliant, the setbacks are compliant, the placement of the building, the orientation, the architecture. The site is well designed and efficient, and it's one of the use of the property is one of the permitted uses that's in this PUD district ordinance. The signage meets the requirements. There is an REA, which is restrictions, easements, agreement, that is binding all the properties within the PUD. It also addresses the maintenance of Roby Drive, again, as it being a private street, and then also Marina Drive is a private street. development is compatible with the area and support the commercial development. Okay. So, staff recommendation is to approve the final development plan for the IHOP restaurant on Lot 5, and I'm going to say subject to the final technical review of engineering, the final technical review of the signage, as we discussed, the lighting that we discussed, and the materials of the dumpster enclosure. With that, under section 27.05, the Plan Commission has to do findings of fact based on the statements that are there. That is the recommended findings of fact in addition to the staff report and the staff report as modified by my recommendation.
Questions regarding the staff report and/or recommendations? None? And at this time, I guess we would ask for a motion for final approval or not of CP 16-04. The motion should include the staff recommendation pertaining to the final engineering, the technical review, the signage, lighting, and enclosure material. If anybody would like to make such a motion?
So moved.
A second? Second. Roll call?
Roger Brock.
Yes.
Dean Button.
Yes.
Nathaniel Harris.
Yes.
Ann Herbert.
Yes.
William Hutton.
Yes.
Juan Moreno.
Yes.
Kimberly White.
Yes.
Thomas White.
Yes.
8 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
Mr. President, move to adopt the staff report as finding of fact.
Okay, do we need to include the 4 elements?
Yes, you need just,
We should,
you can say including the 4 elements stated on the staff, second page of the staff report.
27.05,
A1,
1,
A2.
2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
So moved.
Second.
Second, thank you. Roll call.
Roger Brock.
Yes.
Dean Button.
Yes.
Nathaniel Harris.
Yes.
Ann Herbert.
Yes.
William Hutton.
Yes.
Juan Moreno.
Yes.
Kimberly White.
Yes.
Thomas White.
Yes.
8 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
Good luck. Thank you. Any correspondence?
No correspondence.
Commissioners' comments? Seeing none. Staff comments?
At this point, since we're kind of, our meeting time is off cycle, we do not have an April Plan Commission meeting in 2 weeks. And I also don't know at this time if we're going to have a May Plan Commission meeting.
Okay. No public comment. There is no public. And I guess a motion for adjournment?
Motion.
Move.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
That was quick.